Nobody else happens to be on this boat.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Travel FOMO podcast. We are about to share our top 5 tips and tricks for traveling by ferry.
Number 1, ferries vary greatly in size, like a lot. You could have a really small ferry that might seat 10 people. That's more just like a small boat on a beautiful lake. Or you could have a ferry that is huge, like cruise ship size, that is in a huge port. There are such diverse ferries out there. So that's something to consider and think about, because you're going to have a really different experience depending on what kind of ferry you're on.
Number 2, understand that the weather is going to have a big impact on your ferry system. It might slow your ferries down, or it might cancel them altogether. When we hiked the Cinque Terre, we planned on ferrying back after our hike. But the waves were so big because the wind was so strong that day that the ferries weren't stopping in all the villages. So we ended up having to travel by train. So just understand, if you're taking a ferry, the weather might impact your day.
I'm really glad we didn't have to hike back. Number 3, be flexible with your schedule. A tool you can use to do that is Ferry Hopper. It's a great app, super friendly and easy to use. They tend to get more and more off schedule throughout the day. You want to keep that in mind when you're waiting and waiting around at a port. So just be flexible and know that the schedule will continue to change throughout the day. It's kind of well known, but I didn't know that.
Number 4, get a seat with a view. Even if you have an assigned seat inside, a lot of times ferries will have standing room up top, or a place where you can go and kind of come in and out of ports from topside. We really recommend this. In fact, in Como, we took a ferry where we sat on top the entire way, and it was really breathtaking.
Number 5, everything happens at the port. There was a lot of instances in which I thought that we could probably just make a phone call or get online and change our schedule. The best place to do a lot of those changes is at the port. That's where they will have printed out schedules in some instance. So we talked about the schedules changing all the time. The way you might find out is by seeing a printed out schedule at the port. We had to make some ticket transfers and change some things up while we were in the Greek islands. It was so much easier to do that at the office at the port. And honestly, it was the only way to do it when it was all said and done.
I think by far our best ferry experience was Lake Como. We set up top and we went in and out of all of these little villages along the lake, seeing villa after beautiful villa. The weather was perfect. It was so nice. We have a lot of great footage if you want to go watch our Lake Como video.
We saw George Clooney's home.
One of Clooney's homes.
Must be nice.
And we really had a great day. It was kind of the highlight of our day, was just getting to ride that ferry from Como to Bellagio.
Our absolute worst ferry ride was Lake Como.
Also Lake Como.
Our ride back from Bellagio to the city of Como was actually pretty bad, and I wasn't feeling that well. It was madness at the little port in Bellagio. You just could not figure anything out because all of the signage was literally posted, but you couldn't get to the signage to see anything.
All of the magic gone immediately. To hear all of our tips and tricks for traveling by ferry as well as by train and bus throughout Europe, you can tune in to the latest podcast.
Life is short, guys.
Wonder well.